A little bit of controversy right here, AJ. Israel Adesanya, and still he gets the job done. He closes the book on the, closes the chapter on the, Robert Whittaker book, however you want to say it. Listen, man. Will we see a third fight? Maybe. And that's only if Israel Adesanya stays on top, stays in the game, and Robert Whittaker runs through all of these opponents all over again, and we're doing this. I mean, do we need to see a third fight? Really? I don't think so, because I think it's clear Adesanya is the better man, especially when it comes down to this matchup. But a lot of people, AJ, are screaming robbery here. They're saying Robert Whittaker won 3-2. You have Justin Gaethje who says Robert Whittaker wins round 3, 4, and 5. Now, the problem that I have with this, AJ, is not necessarily the sentiment of like, could Robert Whittaker have won the fight? I mean, depending on how you're viewing it, yes, sure. But the big thing that we need to take away here is the takedowns don't mean the same thing in every context, right? Is it true that Robert Whittaker got takedowns in this fight? Yeah, he got 4 of them, brother. He got 4 of them out of 10. So 40% clip right there, but he got takedown. Did he do anything with any of his takedowns? No, not at all, bro. And this is the same argument I have for why Roxanne Modafferi didn't beat Casey O'Neill. Because did Roxanne Modafferi land 2 takedowns against O'Neill? Yeah. Did she do anything with the takedowns? No. Did she control, her opponent on the ground? Did Whittaker control Adesanya on the ground? No. He got right back up to his feet every single time. Might have been a little bit of help from a couple, fence grabs and whatnot. But the point remains, you couldn't keep him on his butt. And that is the whole entire factor when it comes down to a takedown. If you can control him on there, all right, we're giving you some points. If you can notch some ground and pound, we're giving you some points. If it's a mat return, more or less, and they're getting right back up to their feet, getting out of there and getting back at range, you're not really doing much, man. So do you entertain or see an argument for Adesanya potentially dropping the ball to Whittaker? Because I'm going to pull up MMA decisions and we can take a look at what the people have to say.
Man, to be honest with you, Derek, I was a little scared when it was going to decision because of that. I had Bobby Knuckles winning the 3rd and the 5th, but I was a little scared because he was landing the takedowns. I agree with you. Was he getting the takedowns? Yes. Was he doing anything with them? No. But sometimes in those judges' eyes, that's all they care about. Like if DC's scoring this fight, all he cares about is just getting takedowns. Sure, obviously he cares about, ground and pound and getting the actual finish and win, but sometimes takedowns weigh more to other people than they do, the majority of others. So was I a little worried? Yes. Did I think the right guy won? Yeah, I think Israel Adesanya won this fight. But even on verdict, I was looking earlier and I was seeing people were scoring like first round of Whittaker. And so sometimes you don't know, man. That's, I think, why they need more of the judging so you can kind of get a bigger consensus. Because I was a little worried. I guess if you score takedowns in a certain way, I can see why Robert Whittaker won the fight in your opinion. Mine, not necessarily.
Yeah. Mine either, not necessarily. But when we look at the media scores for it, man, it's almost Adesanya across the board. We do have maybe like 4 or 5 people out of maybe, I'd say this probably like 20 votes, right? Got it for Whittaker, 48, 47 for Whittaker, 140, 49, 46 for Whittaker. So I don't know. This is Tyler Treese of SureDog.com. Yeah, I'm not really sure about that. But yes, I think that Adesanya overwhelmingly got the job done. When we look at numbers, AJ, it appears to be, let me pull this down for a second. It appears that so Adesanya outstruck Whittaker 98-74. He got no takedowns, right? So Whittaker got 4 takedowns, and when we're looking by target, right, from distance, a couple in the clinch, but basically it was just like a distance type fight. You got to beat the champ to be the champ, and we've been saying this for a long time. A lot of people don't agree with that sentiment. It's kind of the same thing for like a Dominic Reyes versus John Jones, right? Very close fight, but the argument a lot of people are making about Adesanya, and some people are saying if Adesanya loses, this is nobody's fault but his own, because he looked like a step slow. He looked a little lackluster. He looked like this was more or less a glorified sparring match than it was a true, real deal fight. And my question to you on this one, AJ, is do you think there's anything to that sentiment? When I was watching Stylebender come out, slapping his face a little bit and doing all that, like my thought in my head when I was watching, I was like, is he maybe like not feeling too hot right now? Is he still trying to wake up and get in the zone or whatever? Did he look a step slow? Did he look odd? Or do you think that this was just a conservative Stylebender approach? And I have one more comment on this as to what I think about it, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, totally, I agree with that. Or I disagree with that statement, excuse me. I think he might have been, because I saw the same thing. I saw the fact that Israel Adesanya didn't look as far, excuse me, folks, didn't look as far advanced as he normally did, especially in that first fight. He looked levels above Robert Whittaker. But I think that goes more to show how advanced Robert Whittaker went in the fight than Israel Adesanya. Sure, it's hard, and this goes back to what we were saying earlier with the Alexander Hernandez fight. If you're the baddest dude in the room, you
Yeah.
need to go to a new room. And it's
Yeah.
the hardest thing about Israel Adesanya. He's arguably one of the baddest men in the planet. So who's he going to train with to get better? Especially when you're already at the pinnacle of your career, you don't really have an idea or a grasp or a focus to go up. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't know where, like, or what is better. I don't know. I am the best. Like what's out there. So Robert Whittaker has an easier chance to get closer to the top, if that makes sense. Like there's more of a clear cut path for Robert Whittaker than there is for Israel Adesanya to grow. So I think that's where everyone is talking about. That is he looked a little slow? Because did he look slower than normal? Sure, maybe. Was Robert Whittaker better than a lot of people were expecting? I think that's a little more closer to the truth than what actually happened. It's just hard, man. Like because did I think this was a way closer fight? Yeah, but that's what we were expecting, Derek. We were expecting a closer fight from Robert Whittaker, especially now that the mental games aren't playing. And that's another note I had. I think you can see the difference in the first fight to the second fight, how much those mental games actually impacted the outcome of this fight, because Robert Whittaker was focused in, man. Sure, he wasn't getting the outcomes he wanted in those takedowns, but was he able to get the takedowns? Yeah. Was he avoiding the shots? Was he avoiding the counter strikes? Avoiding falling into those pitfalls that he did? Yeah. So I think it just shows that Robert Whittaker stepped up his game, where Israel Adesanya maybe not stepped down, but stayed at around the same level that he was at. So it made everybody think that, oh, Israel Adesanya, he's failing, he's falling. I don't necessarily think that's the case. What do you think, Derek?
Well, I agree with what you're saying right here, but I think that there's one X factor that you missed on this one when it comes to Robert Whittaker and his game plan. I think Robert Whittaker executed a very good game plan. And the one thing that I had said in the pre-show is that if Whittaker could somehow, some way make Adesanya lead the dance, take away the counter-striking and make him lead the dance, things are going to get a little tricky. And I think that's what it was in a big part right here. I think that when Adesanya has to go first and he can't make do off of those counter-striking opportunities, the volume drops a lot. Then it starts getting weird. You kept seeing he kept going for that same lean-back hook that he got Whittaker on the first fight. He kept going for it, and he missed every time. Like Whittaker, that one thing Bisping was saying about Whittaker is that he kept just left hand dominant. He wasn't throwing that right hand, and he was like, well, one reason why that might be is because when he throws the right hand, he's getting caught with that check hook. So let him not throw that, and let him just mess up the flow of an Adesanya, which is what you have to do to a fighter like that. Was it enough? Not quite. Did Adesanya look a little step, below his normal, antics? Yes, of course, but it's hard to one up your performances, which is the same thing that Dustin Poirier said when in regards to fighting McGregor for a fourth time. He's like, what am I going to do? Knock him out faster? You know what I mean? Knock him out more devastating? Like, at this point, I have nothing to fight for. You know what I mean? So it's hard to look good against yourself because you're battling yourself there. But I did just want to post up this picture real fast, man. So right here, let me see if it'll go. It's not even going to go because it's the wrong format. So, well, I guess apologies on that, folks. I got you all hyped up for no reason. I guess I'll drop this one right here. All right, brother. This was a pivotal moment in the fight to me, AJ, and this was in the beginning of the fight. So let me just pull it down. Boom. All right. This is when they're going to, dap up right before the fight, and Adesanya does a rock, paper, scissors and puts the paper over him. I was like, this is the ultimate, like, he's just playing mind games till the very end. You know what I mean? He's just fucking with him. Like, at that point, if you're Robert Whittaker, you can't even be mad. You're probably just confused. You're like, bro, are you fucking kidding me? Like, we're literally, now we're going to fight, and you're still doing, okay. All right, And I think this is a predication of how the fight ultimately played out, man. This was chess, and Israel Adesanya was just a step ahead, man. And that's just what it appears to be. He is the better man when it comes down to this matchup. But I think it's fair to say this was a tough fight for Adesanya. This wasn't an easy fight. He didn't let Adesanya look as good as he normally does, and that's a testament to Robert Whittaker in and of itself. So he says it. The third fight's inevitable because he's going to smash whoever comes in his way until he gets that title shot again. If Izzy is still the champ, man, it's going to be interesting to see it if they do it a third time. But give me your last take on this matchup, AJ.
I give more credit to Robert Whittaker in this fight because I think the reason why Israel Adesanya was looking bad is because Robert Whittaker was looking so good. But I agree, man. These two dudes are number one and number two, and it's going to be a very hard path to get past Robert Whittaker if you're looking to beat the champ. So, I mean, good fight, though. I liked it.
Absolutely. And still, this is the, fifth title defense, right? A five-time champion, so maybe fourth title defense. But five-time champion is Israel Adesanya. Listen, man, one of the best to do it. At this point, man, he's really solidifying that legacy. So